When I look at Amazon, it's like being back doing music. And
maybe you will have finally to see the right numbers inside your Google ads.
What do you hate about this website? 79% of users experience slow page load times, are less likely to buy from the same site again.
Welcome to Dr. Amazon Podcast, the emergency support channel for FBA private label sellers. We invite top Amazon experts to share the most efficient tips and tricks for your businesses. My name is Vitaly Hizhniak and I am the CGO of Profit Whales. And let's get started. One of the coolest things about the Amazon world is the wide range of people who are taking part in it. Our today's guest is Danny Macmillan, has a long experience in the music industry. In the e-commerce world, Danny is well known as the co-founder of Databril, which manages PPC for 7 and 8 figures. He also ran the yearly conference Sales Session Live, the Branded by Women Summit, and the Seller Pool. Are you ready for this? So let's start it. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Amazon podcast. And I am happy to introduce our guest, Danny Macmillan, the host of the Seller Sessions podcast, world-renowned public speaker and veteran Amazon seller. Hey Danny, thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I would be glad, to start this podcast maybe with a few words about you, because when we will start searching in Google your name, we will see that you have a really great experience and your last things that you have done is as a musician, and you are come from the music industry, work in production, radio, and artist. And how did you come to the Amazon? Could you please tell us more about that?
All right, so I started in the music industry quite young. I was about 18, 19 when I finally got in through the doors. I was trying to get in, but, as everyone wants to start out when you go clubbing. Back then, it was the early 90s. I'm 45 now. And so early 90s, you had what we called the rave scene just after Acid House. 88, 89. I kind of just missed the cusp of that. So I started to go out in about 1990 and you get involved. Amazon's a community, but so is the dance community. It's really interesting. We have networking, music's played, people have drinks, etc. So there's a lot of parallels between the two worlds, right? So what I like to say to people is that when I look at Amazon, it's like being back doing music. And the reason I explain that is when I'm out on the road speaking, that is like the DJ gigs, right? When I do my podcast, that's like my Kiss FM radio show. When I'm in the studio making records for an audience, I might as well be in the lab developing products and services. So for me, there's a parallel between those. Each of those have an industry. Each of them has a form of networking. Each of them has a point where you're inspired by other musicians, right, to get better. Yeah. I'm inspired by being around entrepreneurs. So for me, it's the same thing. It's just almost like exactly the same thing, but the finished product on each of those levels are just slightly different. But they all feed into each other as a consistent one, if you like.
Today we will speak more about what people need to have not only on Amazon but outside the Amazon. How to get prepared on that, because now we got a lot of requests for the Amazon sellers. I have everything done in the case of the listings. I have improved everything that you need as a titles, photos, something like that. And we know that listings is some kind of the landing page. But let's speak about the real landing pages. Why it's important. Why it's important, the website. How did you get into this exactly topic, and why did you find that is really important now?
Because I mean, before Amazon come along, because we kind of jumped around a little bit, I was in the music industry, and then I got headhunted by someone in the gold district in Hatton Garden, where they refine metals and stuff like gold and silver, and it's world renowned. It's known around there for being the capital of jewelry in, I think, in Europe or whatever. But there was a guy that was called Refined Precious Metals. I was teaching at an engineering school called Point Blank. So I was teaching music production, engineering, different softwares. And he said to me, I want to build an online community. And I'm like, what do I know about the internet? Because back then we didn't have Facebook. Facebook had just started, I think. You had Bebo and you had MySpace. And people were just using Bebo and MySpace. Facebook hadn't really entered the frame properly. And, we were just we'd just post that dial-up phase, because 98, 99, 2000 was like the dial-up, wasn't it? And so this was around 2007, 2008. So it had matured, but being in the music industry was very slow to pick up online, because they were too busy trying to fight piracy to actually embrace it. It's taken the music industry, it took them 10 years to watch themselves downsize before they took it seriously and go, this is not going to go away. We can't fight everyone. And so when we run this startup, it was an absolute disaster. We lost like $500,000. It was the biggest learning of my life, because although I had all the contacts in the music industry, Radio 1 and everyone else, and able to bring people on board, the SEO is non-existent. You might as well just put a blindfold on. So I had to have a baptism of fire of learning SEO, eventually getting into PPC. So I'm into PPC now because it goes back to that period of 2008. And so the getting over there was a lot of the stuff that I was studying. I came across conversion optimization. There's the Conversion XL blog, and there's the godfather of conversion optimization is Pete Larger, phenomenal guy. And it was like he broke down the science behind it. And that's where I really learned about the science, about split testing, about page load times, about the anatomy of a landing page. It's so crucial. Because, I can go through some stuff and stats with you now, like just for quick improvements, right, for people. What they don't realize. So one of the most important things, it's not this one of the most important things. It's about people's decision making. Like when we communicate with another human, we've made a decision in 1/8 of a second. That's how quick the human eye will move and make its first impression before the person opens their mouth. Because you understand the concept that 7% of communication is words. The rest comes from your body language, facial expression, and everything else. It's a very small amount. So when you apply that to a website, when people want to digest information, I'll give you some stats here, right, in terms of page load. And anyone listening can rectify this straight away in a minute, right? So with conversion rate, every 100 milliseconds of latency costs Amazon 1% in sales. So that's an optimized page load time. But anything beyond that, let's just say they've got their page load down to 0.75 of a second. But then there's that 100 millisecond gap where there's something happening in terms of servers, etc. I'm not an engineer, but just bear with me. But if there's an issue and there is an increase of 100 milliseconds, that actually costs Amazon 1% in sales. So you think that if that's having an impact on Amazon, one of the most trusted brand in the world, what is that going to affect on you? In terms of SEO, Pinterest optimized their website performance, which led to 15% increase in SEO traffic by effectively optimizing their website. This is both on desktop and mobile. Your brand image, right? 79% of users experience slow page load times are less likely to buy from the same site again, while 27% are less likely to buy from the same business's physical store. So the impact of that, 79% of users is high. Bounce rate, right? So ideally you want to get your page load to about a second, right? Or less if you can. But it all comes at a cost in terms of imageries. We'll get into sliders and stuff later. But bounce rate. As a page load goes from 1 second to 5 seconds, the probability of a bounce increases by 90%. Mobile usage. 50% of mobile sites are abandoned if the page takes longer than 3 seconds to load.
Yeah, that is.
It gives you some really, really key things just to understand. I mean, and there's plenty of tools out there. Just do a search on Google. So they're just a few of the stats, right? Now, if you want to optimize your landing page or your website and the pages on the sites, there's key things you need to look at. So what we did over at Databricks, we were with everything that I had going on, we just built the new site, and I was like, right, optimize it, send some traffic to it, optimize it later, because I'd like to get some data in. I got an amazing designer. He's like my Johnny Ive, but we had loads of animation, and our page load times were 12 seconds because I hadn't looked at that point in that point of time. I knew I was going to optimize the site. I just said, look, build it. We need to replace the site, and then we'll go back and optimize after. So it was 11 or 12 seconds. We got that down to 1 second. So it's had massive impact this way, and we'll start to measure that. I'll do some stuff.
12 times.
Yeah. So, for instance, what we did was there's a lazy load function that works for Vimeo and YouTube. So on that one, that site happens to be a WordPress. That will be different for a Shopify, right? Mm-hmm. And so it means that in order to load the video, so it will load the page, but what it means is that the video doesn't load unless the user clicks on it, which is then the page is already loaded anyway, right? So what we did is we had issues with a series of plugins. So what we did is we went through and tested each one of those plugins. So we installed a brand new WordPress from scratch before the theme, and then added one element at a time to get it down, to shave all of that time off. So a lot of the causes, poorly optimized scripts. You need to look at compressing images as well. You would remove unnecessary custom fonts. You might be dealing with inadequate bandwidth, and there's also could be an issue with insufficient server resources as well. So there are a lot of things to play with, but that might scare people. Like, I'm not a coder, but I work with developers, and the thing is, you can run a speed test report, and the engineer will understand what these terminology means. All you need to know is my website score. So with the Databricks site, when we've done it, our website score, our desktop was 34% and our mobile was 6%. Both of them now are 96%. So that's the scoring that Google has, especially with mobile the way it is, and that's where the puck's obviously going. Even with Amazon, first stage of searches before purchases and everything else. That's going to affect your rankings heavily as well on Google. So, you know, you can get an engineer at Upwork to go and optimize your site. Don't matter what it is. If you've got a Magento, if you've got a Shopify, you know, whatever you need to do, just pay someone $25 an hour to optimize that. And the impact on your sales could be absolutely massive. So you might have a really good site, page load time 7 to 9 seconds. You could possibly double your conversion rate. We already know on a website, 0.5 to 1.5 is great conversion rate on most websites, which means you've got to send 100 qualified eyeballs to that website in order to do between 1 and 1.5 sales. You know, that's a lot of traffic you've got to send to the website. And if you can actually increase that to, you know, some people get it up as far as 3 seconds. 3%. That is fantastic on your own website. But that's where you could be leaving money on the table. So quick hacks really is you run a tool, do a Google speed search tool, run that. That will give you your ratings. Give that to an engineer. Get that done straight away. That might be the quickest way to optimize the first part of the problems with your website.
Yeah, so we every time work with the traffic. If we will use the Amazon or our website, it's like doesn't matter. And every time we need to be focused on moving all these obstacles, try to solve them. And the load speed is like one of them. Absolutely agree with you. And we also, for example, what tools could we also use? As the Google page insight tests, just to take a look into the our page, like the landing one, for example, to understand what exactly needs to be optimized and increase the score for the desktop version or mobile version. What else? For example, we need to maybe some plugins or maybe the Google Analytics, that could provide us to optimize everything that we have.
So you've got Google, obviously you've got Google Webmaster, all of these are free. Google Webmaster Tools, you've got Google Analytics that people use. Google has Google Insights, like a page speed tool. Split testing tool, let me just pull up the one that we use here. It's just on here. Yeah, so you've got Google Optimize, which allows you to do split testing as well. So when you install Google Optimize, there'll be a plugin that you would need from the Chrome store as well. All of these tools are free. One of my favorite tools is Browser Stack, which allows you to look at the issues with browser validation. So your website across on mobile, desktop and tablet across hundreds of browsers, right? Because a lot of people don't realize is that they'll look at they'll be on their iMac and they'll be on their desktop computer, and that's the only couple of browsers that go, yeah, this looks really good. But it can be really bad at times when you may think it's optimized because it's on on the most recent browsers, but let's just say you're on a PC. And you haven't tested on a PC, your screen could just be black and you wouldn't even know about it, and you could be sending traffic to it, and it becomes expensive, especially external traffic, not just organic traffic. That's a bounce straight away. But then you look at your bounce rate and you go, well, how do I rectify that? And you look at all these different problems. You might go, we solved the page load, but we still got these problems.
If you will get a chance to optimize your landing pages and to speed up all your speed tests that you have, that will be amazing in case of your conversion rate. And maybe you will have finally to see the right numbers inside your Google ads or the Google Analytics, because you every time invest on like spending money, and to try to understand that everything is okay to send it. So it's like the great parallel in the case of the bad listing that you have inside the Amazon. It's like quite the same. If you will not have a good photos titles, it will be also not a good way to start any PPC campaigns. The same we have here, right?
Yeah. So there is. Sorry, I was just pulling up my screen for some other tools that people should look at. Now, one of the key things you should look at as well, and people often miss this. I mean, we're gonna like back and forth, but getting feedback is unbelievable in terms of support, in terms of working out why your website is not working. Right. So, two of the tools that I use, obvious one is PickFu, but it's about asking the right questions. So I use PickFu. And I use 5-second test. The reason I ask 5-second test, because you get to ask 3 questions and the person only sees it for 5 seconds. What is the most memorable thing about the website? And generally what you're looking for is, do they remember the image as they landed on the page? Did they see it? How long was the page load time? Some people might go, I don't know anything about what this service offers, or you want to test the title. So there's a great way, but you got to ask the uncomfortable questions. Like I would use questions like in strong words. What do you hate about this website? Now, hate's a strong word, right? And these are all private communications, if you like, because you don't see who that person is. So people will let you know hellfire what they really think, which is fantastic. But then your job is to read between the lines. And so what you might do is get 50 responses back and say, your website's over design. I hate the color purple. And there's out of 50 people, 20 people might have said that. Or they'll go, I can't read the copy on the page properly because the images behind it are not working, or the title's not loading properly. The title's too long. Or, I always called it hit a fisherman over the head with a wet fish. Do you know what your service offer? Not like welcome to our website. There's so many things that you can test for. So the key thing about using third parties is, one, never take anything personally, because it's just business and it's about optimization. And two, you ask the right questions. So we spent about $200 to run 5 tests across 5-second test and PickFu. It was brilliant because we're able to build a massive list.
But you get a lot of info to optimize everything that you have.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that is really great. If you will pay for the feedback, then and you will implement all the things and then run again, you will see how you improve everything. And then you will see in the case of your sales and conversion rate. If we could just divide it into these stages for the conversion optimization, what stages that will be?
Okay, so first thing you want to do is you want to measure your page load. That's just on a statistical level, right? You want to know that, use a free tool. If it's like more than a second, you want to know why, and then that's where you read the report. The other thing is, before you do any optimization, because you don't know what anyone wants, go and use 5-second test. Go and use PickFu. Go and use a Zoom. There's loads out there, right? Go and get 200 people's feedback from 200 people. Ask specific questions that are opposing, meaning, what do you dislike about this website? Not what do you love, because that isn't going to help you. What helps you is what people don't like. Then you start to what I call stack rank, because effectively this isn't done on numbers. This is based on user feedback. So effectively, you're looking at a spreadsheet with feedback in, and you're highlighting the cells going, they don't like brown, they don't like brown, they don't like brown, they don't like brown. Okay, there's a pattern here. Let's not use brown. But you need to have a big enough catchment. So don't try and do it with 10 or 15 people. Do it with 200. Like I said, we did it with the data brill. We got three tests, I think, done in total, 3 to 4 tests. The whole thing cost me about $200, which is, you'd think what you're burning in ad spend on a daily basis when you're sending Facebook traffic or YouTube traffic or wherever it may be, Pinterest, whoever you're using, Google shopping ads, all of those kind of things. You're better off to do that, get that feedback. Then sit down with your team, go through all the feedback together, make the changes to the website as well. Couple of things on wanted to cover here. Do you know your customer avatar, right? So put together an avatar checklist like you're doing with your products, yeah? So part of the demographic is age, sex, location, education, occupation, income, marital status, home. Is it rented, owned, share? What causes are they into? What kind of awarenesses, interests are they into? Info sources, the customer traits checklist. What are their values, their attitudes, their beliefs, politics, lifestyle, religion, spirit, are they spiritual, The core of your customer list will be things like your problems, the pain points, fears, objections, challenges, and obstacles. Now, I'm kind of racing through these so people listening can make some notes on these. But effectively, people often go and build a website, get a designer in, make it look pretty. But why are they building the website? What are the problems they solving? Who do they want to attract? Because effectively, if you're starting to build out that avatar of your customer for your website, it's only going to make your life easy when you're running contextual Google ads and when you're running Facebook ads, because you've done a lot of that work to get to your ad team in terms of dialing in and sending the right traffic that is relevant to you. The website.
Exactly. Yeah. And according to that, you will have a chance to increase your conversion rate, because every time when you
all about that. What you're trying to do is you don't want to necessarily double your ad spend. You want to double your conversion rate.
Yeah, exactly.
The work that you're doing. Do you know what I mean? When you want to scale, you want to, you're going to peak at some point. But if you can have a fully optimized site rather than just spending more on ads to blow and blast at the website, you want to get that balance right. Because also with a lot of Amazon sellers, they build a site and they may not have reoccurring customers. They might be products that, like kitchen products, that people will buy once off or once a year. Whereas someone selling supplements or topical and beauty products and stuff that's on a regular basis, deodorants and stuff, there is a cycle to that. So you've got long-term value of the customer. So you've got to work out your CAC, your customer acquisition costs, and build that into it as well. So I always say to Amazon sellers, it's not as beneficial if you've got a consumable product that is the best way to have an external site so you can build in customer acquisition costs and make your money back over time if you've got an option to get them to keep coming back to the site. It's going to be a lot harder for people to buy products from your website, which is one-off, because you've only secured the customer once and they're not going to come back. So the ad dollars going in to drive that customer, ideally you want to look at the long-term value of the customer and go, hold on a minute, I'm selling beard oil and beard wax and stuff like that, right? People will buy these 50, 60 mil, 70 mil bottles or whatever denomination they come in. They're going to buy them on a monthly basis, so they'll be back. So the cost of your customer could be split across a cycle of 3 to 6, depending what your cohort says.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, because the same parallels we do have inside the Amazon. It's really important to be prepared on Amazon and out of the Amazon in the same way in the case of the focusing on the conversion rate. I would be glad to know more about you, because we speak a lot about the optimization. And but first of all, I knew that you share a lot of things inside your social media with the conference that you do, the podcast, and you spend a lot of time on that. But what about your hobbies? How do you spend your free time?
I don't have much of it, but what I've been doing recently, I've used I've had a lot of health issues with brain fog, so it makes it difficult being sat in front of a computer for periods of time or longer periods of time. So since 2015, I've gone through the medical system, experts in the US. I've done tens of thousands to try and work out what it is. And so I have mold and heavy metals issues like arsenic and mercury. And the only way of getting those out is using binders. And these bring them out of your body and over a period of time. So what I try to do is the first half of lockdown, I went on a big binge, like a run, and done 77 live shows in a row. Because with the lockdown coming and people at home, I'm like, right, I'm going live 7 days a week. And I've done that consistently for 77 days in a row. So that was my thing of like keeping myself active, keeping people in the community active, making sure there was content and building good morale in the community while we're going through all this stuff. Then the second half of the lockdown, so from October, I've decided, right, it's time to work on me. Let's get back in shape, sort out the health and everything else. So I'm about 160 days into this campaign called No Days Off. So No Days Off, we've been getting other Amazon sellers as well to share to Instagram, which means, movement is medicine. Every day you get up and you go and do something. So I've got a boxing gym, the garage turned into a boxing gym next door. So every day been posting. So before I know it, we're now at 160 days. So for me, that's a big focus of my downtime of my life to feed my working life. So I do that, and I'm very much into like biohacking as well. So I have daily B12 jabs. I'm on TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy. I'm 45, right? So with the health issues, my testosterone had dropped. And so now I've got the testosterone levels of someone in their 20s. And what I think people think about testosterone, they're thinking about steroids, and it's nothing like that in the sense that you would think. You see all these kind of big guys go to the gym and they're off-label. Like I am under like a consultant. I get blood work done every 6 weeks because for me, it's like making sure your health is really good, because testosterone can cause brain fog. You can have weak bone structure, too high estrogen. It just helps with building muscle and things like that. But it's about being optimal. Like I know people that I've seen people that got big, like quite muscly, but they're off script. And so what they're doing is like they just want to get big, big, big. But I think when you do things like this, you've got to have, on a psychological level, you've got to be very balanced as well. Yeah. But it's about optimizing your health as best as possible. The other thing is I have like nootropics and stuff to help as well. So with the brain fog, a lot of that's lifted now because I have like a day stack and a night stack. And a night stack is to help improve the sleep, because one of the issues I had was I'd just wake up at 4 a.m. every morning. No matter what it is, what time I went to bed, I'm awake at 4. Boom, wide awake, can't do anything about it. that's to do with the gut issues from the mold issues and stuff. It's on a different circadian rhythm. So now we develop a stack for that. And the next step for me is that we've done like dealing with the brain fog, getting healthy. I eat grass-fed meat and veg, and so I try and look after that because I live around like farmland where I live. And the last bit, which has only happened just recently, I signed it off yesterday. I'd done the Tim Ferriss hack. It's like you want to go and train with someone who's world class, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to go and start doing like building muscle, not like get big. That's not my interest, but just lean. I'm 45. See what I can do in terms of improving the health there, because visceral fat, all those different things will play a part later on down the line. So I've now got a former Mr. Universe training me called Peter Chown, and we start next week. So I'm doing the 90-day shred challenge. So this week we've got, UK's opened up a little bit. Going to go and meet up with some other entrepreneurs this week, and then from Monday the hard work really starts. So just trying to do that. Just trying to stay healthy, really.
And I'm right now just understand that you working on the optimization, but not only the websites, but yourself. Like every time finding the better spots for you, for your health. And that is amazing, because I am also a big fan of the biohacking, and that is a great chance to start and then keeping and every time boosting all the things. So that is really great. And I guess we'll have a chance to discuss it once more again, because it's a lot of life hacks that we could find. And I guess that could be a next topic for the Amazon sellers, because they spend a lot of time as the entrepreneurs.
The computers, So this is a
that
massive
is so
thing.
cool. Yeah, that is so cool to compare, not to compare, to implement into your life, and start working and thinking about that right now, because then you will not have you will every time think about that you do not have enough time. But no, you should start doing that. Great. I really like it. And you spend a lot of time inside the Amazon. You speak with a lot of experts. And after the 2020, we got a new trends on Amazon. What do you think? What trends we will see this year in 2021?
All right. So the main thing, and I've been speaking about this for about 18 months now, and I speak about it with my clients at Data Brill. We're in a bubble, right? In terms of there's aggregators out there. Thrasio's the biggest. You've got Elevate Brands, people like that. As Amazon, like at the agency, we've had 4 exits in 12 months, and there's about 2 to pop. And like I lose them as customers, but I love the fact that they're taking some legacy money off the table. And often they come back because they want to go again because they're entrepreneurs. So I've been encouraging people and saying, look, we're in a bubble at the moment. You should be focused to looking and selling your business. I'll give you an example. Look at peak COVID, March, April, May of last year. Travel business died. So all those people doing 7 figures in travel, their business became worthless overnight. I'm a big advocate for taking money off the table. So what I have observed, and I can't guarantee this, but we're getting more and more people coming into the space, right? So you're going to have your winners and you're going to have your losers. There are a lot of people, like there's 2 sides. You've got the Thrasios who know what they're doing, right? And they also do back-end deals. Like a lot of friends of mine have sold to Thrasio. They've bought 3 companies out of the 4 that have sold from our clients, and they know how to even maximize making money on the back end because they take it and they grow it, right? But the key thing, and what I've noticed, is that the ecosystem is being flooded with these people that are raising money. Now, they need deal flow. And if there's not enough going around, what happens? The multiples go up. And people start paying silly multiples. So now is the time, as an Amazon seller, it is a seller's market to me. For the next 18 months, you're going to get silly evaluations. And the reason being, from my understanding, I don't raise capital, but from my understanding, you raise a load of money and you're checking in with the investors who put money into that pot. And they'll go, who'd you buy this month? Who did you buy this month? Oh, we haven't. Well, you said that we're going to buy between 3 and 5 companies a month. Why are you not buying anyone? because they're not going to be able to raise another round if they can't convince people to sell their business to them, if they're losing out to the likes of Thrasio, who's established their dominance, if you like, in the market by far. Perch is quite big, but Thrasio is just there, right? So you're going to get all these people who turn around and now selling their businesses, and people are overpaying for these businesses. So, and I always say to people, take the money off the table, go again, because the stress levels go down. All your money's tied up in inventory. You've got this business that does 7-8 figures a year. Your margins might be going down as you start to hit 8 figures. And you've got legacy in that business. There's loads of stuff in your business you would do, but that you would never do again. I'm like, look, in 45 days, you might have 7 figures in the bank, change the path of your life and your family's life, and then just set up another Amazon business, but do it better next time with money and scale it faster and just repeat it. It's like, for me, it's a no-brainer, but I know that people get attached to their brands. But
and we do work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and they really want to come back, because we see a lot of clients that just they were purchased, and right now they are looking for new businesses, new niches, new product to launch, but better than they had previously. And that is really amazing, because all this money that they again go into the e-commerce and try to do better, to expand. Right now just launched not the US, for example, but all other markets. And that is really great. I really like it.
So that's for me is the biggest tip. I mean, is obviously you can talk hacks and everything else, but I think this is the year to sell your Amazon business and go again. Take that money off the table. The richest day of your life is the day that you sell, when that check clears and hits the account.
It's like forget about the fear of missing out and start do that.
Because some people might say, "I'll hold on and I'll get this," but the reason I'm saying it is because people are starting to overpay. It's just strategy. As long as you're not looking to get on the back end of something because the company don't know what they're doing. If someone offers you silly money, take it.
Of course, take it money from the table. I really like it. Yeah, absolutely agree with you. And the last question for today, who should be the next guest for the Dr. Amazon podcast?
Let me have a think. Who should be the next guest? You stumped me there. I'm trying to think. In what area? I can name loads of people, but...
let's think about the outside of the Amazon, for example. Not exactly like the listings, maybe something other. Maybe
Zach Franklin.
Perfect.
Yeah, he's based over in China. Brilliant engineer, really good with Amazon, but phenomenal with third-party traffic as well. He'll give you a list of like 100 resources. Most Amazon people are like, all right, we'll do a bit of Facebook, we'll do some pins, and maybe some YouTube chat. This guy is just like off the chart. So I'd get him on for that.
That is great. Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you for welcome. All today's recommendations and life hacks that people could do working in the case of the conversion rates and to optimize everything that they have. Thank you. And I guess that is not the last podcast with you, and we will have a lot of things to discuss more, as the biohacking, for example.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And that is all for today's Dr. Amazon episode. Do not miss our future arrivals with new hot topics. Press the like button, leave us a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. We will come back to you shortly.